Alrighty then, let's get it started. Hey everybody, happy Thursday. On the show, did that music get turned down at all? It still seems a little loud. Turn that down. Turn it down. That's better. All right, anyway, so today we got some media nonsense to deal with. Micah Shearer, this little hit piece of Ron DeSantis. Now, I'm not picking any sides anyway. I'm not, if it's a hit piece on Trump, it's a hit piece on DeSantis, a hit piece on Chris Christie. I don't care who it is on. And I'm not playing favorites when it comes to our media. I just want to say our media sucks. But they're also, as I mentioned yesterday, it seems like the dam is breaking. Well, no, should I say the dam? Maybe the dike is leaking. And I don't think the Biden team has enough fingers to fit in all the holes. Probably shouldn't talk about the Biden team about fingers and holes. But anyway, there is a well, I'm going to tell you about a little strategy that popped through my head and then somebody else wrote it down before I got a chance to write it down. So we'll do that, talk about some of the hot topics on Twitter and all that stuff right after the intro. Johnny, can you do me a favor? Yeah, play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only Dawg Knight.
Yes, let's do that thing. Stop the music. Uh-oh, it didn't do it. Well, let's try it again. I think I got this fixed. We'll see. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. And welcome back to the Dawg Knight Channel, where we notice things. We try to make sense out of things that don't necessarily make sense. You know what I'm saying. So, happy you're here. I'm happy I'm here. Shall we get into it? First, we'll just say hi to everybody because I want to get through everything today. So I'm not going to dilly-dally with a lot of introductions and platitudes and all that stuff. I'm just say hi. Let's say hi to first over at Rumble. First in chat is Mr. Avocados Diabli, who got the bell. Also, good morning, Mike Savage Blarg. That's it. By the way, I've having technical difficulties the last couple of days. We'll see if we get through today without having to pause and start again. I don't know. I changed some stuff on my computer. I reloaded Streamlabs. We'll see if the whole thing works this time. I don't know. I hope it does. Over on YouTube, first in the chat on YouTube is Mike Savage Blarg. Also, good morning, too. Oh, let me get rid of this pinned comment because I'm already started. Unpin that message. There we go. Good morning also to, who's here? Special Can Acid, Tyler F., Simon Wolfwood, and Sydney Oberg, and Lord Stanhope. We're a little light today, but I'm glad that those of you who are here. Sydney, nice to see you. Nice to see you back on Twitter. We kind of lost you there for a little while, but now we are back. So anyway, I'm sure more people will drop in eventually. It's unfortunate that we are light today, but that's how it goes. Thanks real quick to the people who have tried to do their things and make me successful. That would be, oh, never mind. Now I'm messed up here. What the heck's going on? Thank you, Sydney Oberg, for retweeting the show. Also, guys, I really want you to remember some things. It is Strong Dad June, right? And we've been trying to promote that. Obviously, you can't get away from the fact that it's Pride Month, and Pride Month will be over in a day or so. But it's also something that we haven't really talked about. It's also supposedly Men's Mental Health Month. And so I put out a video on both my Marty's Big Journey channel and on YouTube, and also on Instagram, just to all the men out there, not a whole lot of people talk about Men's Mental Health Month, but all I want to say, and I've said it in both those videos, is that I hope you're doing good. I really do. I hope you're doing okay. And, if you're not, find a friend to talk to, find a doctor to talk to, find whatever, do whatever you need to do. And I just hope, I hope things go well for you. I appreciate you, just man to man. So something that I put out there a couple ways. Good morning, Barrett Lancer. Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. And so, it's, we don't talk about how we're doing or how we're feeling and whatnot as much. And it's part of it is a lot of people say, oh no, this is some toxic masculinity shit. No, it's more like, there is a responsibility to being a man in some ways, to be the stoic one, to be the one to calm in the, in the storm, and I'm sure it has something to do with some chemical makeup that some men have, and most men have. You are naturally a protector. You're actually, you don't have to, well, talking about his body, I've got to establish this, talking about his body, it is kind of is, but, and do you have to really talk about it, or do you just have to just be aware of it? That, I say do something cool and get your mind off of things every once in a while, and probably why Lady Boomer and I just take off and go places and see things, just to get your mind off the grind and the pressure of being you. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. Let's get into, by the way, thank you, Somnambule Nation. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Mike Savage, for all retweeting the show. I appreciate it. And also Tyler F. Greatly appreciated. So, as you know, this show is sponsored by you, the viewers of the Morning Night Live. Please hit the like button during the show. Share the stream somewhere on social media, or share my other videos. Share, those little short things I do, which I hope you enjoy those. Share those, and a lot of people like those. Or you can also sponsor the show in a one of those things with the line through it, the $ things. You can do that through Super Chats during the show, Rumble Rants, preferably through Streamlabs, pdognight.live, or on the, why am I top showing? My live chat's not showing. Okay, or the Streamlabs links are in the chat every once in a while if you want to sponsor the show in a better way. And when you sponsor that way versus Rumble Rants or Super Chats, more of the money goes towards what you're supporting. So we appreciate everyone who supports the show. A lot of you did the last couple of days, and I really appreciate it. All right, let's get into some news today, though. Let's talk about some trending things that are just things that people are talking about. One of the apparently over the last couple of days, the Joe Biden account on Twitter, which it's clearly not run by Joe Biden. Okay, let's just be honest. Joe Biden does not tweet himself. He has a team of people who say things that the people think are going to sound good. Well, apparently they're on a big kick right now as part of their campaign, his campaign to be president for 4 more years, which is not going to happen. Okay, let's just be honest. It's not, and I'll tell you why later. But he's been really big on talking about Bidenomics, like Bidenomics is working, and there's a hashtag out there today. Bidenomics is working, right? And apparently Joe Biden has been so here's the kinds of things that they put out when they say Bidenomics. Okay, here's a good example. It's an example of the kind of things they put out. All right, so this thing right here, Bidenomics working, record breaking. Okay, strongest year for economic growth since 1984. Right, unemployment at 3.6%. Okay, from 6.3% in January 2022. Now, there's a reason for it, but let's just show this again. 7.9 million jobs added, the most in any year. Great. U.S. GDP at 5.7%. double the average since 1976. Now, that one's a hilarious one, because there's a reason they go back to double the average since 1976. Because you got to get a few more extra lean years in there to make this true. Okay, wages up 5.6%, and then deficit down 1.3 trillion, most in any year. Now, this is what's known as lying with statistics. Okay, lying with statistics. So let's start with the unemployment. Okay, the unemployment rate, 3.6%. That's true. Okay. When they say fastest decline ever from 6.3% in January 2022, well, let's see. What was happening in January 2022? Oh, yeah. See, those years that all those states were locked down, and 2021, when they, towards the end of 2021, when they said, oh, well, we're going to start opening these states back up, right? And so, yes, so when they say 7.9 million jobs added, a vast majority of those are returned. And it's funny because I was listening to Gavin Newsom on an interview the other day. And he was talking about, of the job growth in the Biden administration, California is the leading in the job growth, right? And I'm sure New York could brag that. I'm sure there's a few other states that brag that. Well, let's see, Gavin, when California is the state that shut down the most jobs, and you were one of the last states to reopen, of course you would have the most jobs that people return to. That's just silly. All these are COVID related. US GDP, now the GDP, 5.7%, that is pretty hot. But again, he's counting from what, 2021, 2022, when things are all getting back to normal and people are probably spending more money and buying more stuff because they've been shut down for so long, and they're finally got some money in their pocket because they finally got their jobs back, and you got to restock some things that you just don't have. Of course it is. This is it, and then wages up 5.6%. That's interesting because inflation. Now I don't know what he's saying. 5.6% from when? From the start of his administration? Because remember, inflation, if you add the last 2 years together, is over 12%. So people have been losing ground. And the deficit down from 1.3 trillion. Oh, you mean the year when you spent all that money, giving everybody money from COVID? You had the deficit's down from nearly record of your own deficit. So you're saying, oh, well, yeah, we stopped giving away money from COVID. So just be wary anytime you see this. But they're gonna tout this as the greatest economy since bread was sliced and the wheel was invented, right? So anyway, so he's been over and over just all I don't have his tweets necessarily. Here's one. Here's an example of a Joe Biden tweet. Trickle down economics failed the middle class. Bidenomics is rebuilding it. Huh? Really? Now the whole thing trickled down. No one claimed that the trickle down economics was a derogatory term towards the Reagan years, right? But the Reagan years, we recovered from the terrible 70s, which now look, let's remember, the economy in the 70s wasn't all the Carter administration, okay? Because the whole 70s, the economy went in the tank. Probably not as a result of, but probably as we started bringing troops back from Vietnam, all of a sudden the economy, we started getting inflation and gas lines and gas shortages and all that stuff. It wasn't just Carter; it was both the Ford end of Nixon's, before he resigned. The whole country went into this, it just went into a shock, so to speak, for that, and the economy sucked pretty much throughout the 70s, and then we started finally recovering around 82, 83, during the Reagan years. And certainly the policies that Reagan brought in helped that quite a bit. And that, that Reagan boom lasted all the way into the early 2000s, even with the mild recession during Herbert Walker Bush. But, there was, before that election, the media was tired of having Republicans. So they wouldn't tell you that the recession had ended, the so-called recession that they had during the end of Bush 43, right? Or Bush 41, excuse me. Anyway, now this is funny because this guy decided to define Bidenomics. Bidenomics. Noun. Bidenomics is when you and your family make millions from foreign nationals by providing what seems to be no service other than access and influence. It's a strategy that involves setting up over 20 shell companies and having Vice President Joe Biden as a family member. So that's yeah, a little shot at the addled the what do you call it? Dementia addled one? I shouldn't say that. He's sundowner, not dementia. Anyway, let's move on. Some other things that are trending. So Bidenomics, that's one of the things trending. Another thing trending today is CPAP, a CPAP. Now, I am very, very familiar. I'm very familiar with the CPAP machine because I too have sleep apnea and I use a CPAP machine. But the reason it's trending this morning is apparently Biden came out to some event, whatever, and had the marks on his face from the mask. There's a mask you wear over your face here, and then there's these straps that go around your head to hold the mask on. And what it does is basically pushes air into your lungs while you're breathing at night, so it stops you from snoring. Okay, stops you from basically, it's not technically swallowing your tongue, but it's kind of like that sensation. And that's what a CPAP does. It helps you. It forces you to breathe. And it helps you sleep because sleep apnea is when you kind of choke from your snoring and you wake up multiple times during the night. I used to wake up and not even knowingly. My sleep patterns were like 30 times a night, where it would jolt me 30 times a night. So I started wearing that CPAP machine, and I sleep like a baby. Okay, so anyway, so apparently Joe Biden had some marks on his face, and people were wondering what the hell is that. And so they started talking about Joe Biden using a CPAP machine. Scoop: Joe Biden has begun using a CPAP machine. Per sources, the device is to treat long-standing sleep apnea, one of the people said. As Biden departed the White House this morning for Chicago, indentations from CPAP straps could be seen on his face. Now, I don't know why this came up. Apparently, maybe someone thought he was having an oxygen mask or something. Who knows? I don't care. But apparently this is big enough that it became I don't know if it's a scandal, but what the heck is that? Is it a CPAP that's causing Biden's face to look like this? No, that's just a weird shot. Anyway, apparently a lot of people are talking about it, and it's interesting because he just now started using one, but they said he's had this problem for years. Maybe that's why he falls asleep all the time. Because one thing that when you have sleep apnea, okay, you don't sleep well, and it makes you really tired during the day, and you're like, why am I so tired all the time? Well, part of it is because you're not getting a good night's sleep. Like before I started using my CPAP sheet, I'd be falling asleep all the time. And it's not the only reason why I have my cup of reparations here, but I do have it. So anyway, hey Tyre Alexander, hey Tex AG, hey Brent Hayes. I just noticed all you dropped in. Lord Stanhope, I think you were here earlier. I think a special K here. Okay. So anyway, let's see. Here's how Wayne Dupree says it. President Biden has been using a CPAP machine to treat sleep apnea, a potentially serious condition in which breathing can stop during sleep. The White House confirmed Wednesday. I also have sleep apnea, but decided against using this machine years ago. I didn't want to scare my babies. Yeah, I know. No. You only wear it when you sleep. Wayne. Oh, Wayne, you need to wear your CPAP machine. You need to use that thing. You will not believe how much more sleep you get by using it. You oh my gosh, you sleep through the night. You sleep like a rock, and you don't even think it's possible. So anyway, it seems to be a big topic. CNN even reports on it. This is CNN. Biden has begun using a CPAP machine for sleep apnea. So I guess everyone's going to learn about sleep apnea this week. So that's a big topic. All right, let's move on. The Amish are trending. Now, why are the Amish trending? I don't know if I can tell you because this is YouTube, but I'll leave the link there. Apparently someone was talking about the studies on the Amish and various diseases, conditions, things that people do, that with versus, well, the jab people versus the non-jab people, and the Amish are basically non-jab people, and a lot of things that don't happen to the Amish, you're just gonna have to go through. And if you see any links to, or if you open this Twitter, you don't have to be on Twitter to do this. Open a Twitter page that I link to, and look for Amish, and then start reading about, or start watching these videos. But anyway, someone here says, I have to admit it, I've been thinking real hard lately that living off the grid is the best FU we could ever give government. All governments will eventually become corrupt because everyone, sadly, what do they say? Sadly, has a price. Over our entire lives, we were foolish enough to mock the Amish. Now we envy them. No vaccines, live off the land, independent, defiant of the government. So anyway, but really, I say go into that topic and watch some of those videos. It's interesting. I don't know if I agree with them or not, but they make sense, and you need to look at them. I'm not going to say anything more about that. Other things trending. Chris Christie, because how can you miss Chris Christie? He's trending just because he's going hard at Trump. And here's the problem. You're running for president, Chris. And if you spend your whole time being anti-Trump, okay, you might get a few Republican votes for you in the Republican primary. And you may sound like a tough guy, but you have to convince the Trump voters to vote for you. And that's the problem. You are not going to get the Trump voters to vote for you if all you do is hate on Trump. And his whole campaign right now is hate on Trump. So, but anyway, there are people, and then we have like the Joe Walshes of the world, not Joe Walsh, not that Joe Walsh, the other Joe Walsh, the former Florida Congressman Joe Walsh, who seems to be, okay, this guy, Joe Walsh is this former Republican, and he might as well just say, I'm going to vote just for Democrats, because all he does is bitch about Trump every day. Every day he bitches about Trump, and it doesn't matter who he's talking about. Chris Christie's ripping Trump to shreds in every interview. And listen to here's what Joe Walsh says about it. Yes, I'm glad Chris Christie is saying what he is saying now. I welcome him to Team Democracy and all the rest. But there's something unsettling here about Christie. He's known who Trump is all along and is still stuck by him. Christie repeatedly bragged over the years how well he's known Trump during an ad campaign of his right now. He's repeatedly made it clear he's known for a long time how bad Trump is. He said again last night he's known for 22 years how bad and unfit Trump is, but yet he still strongly supported him for 19 to 20 of those years. Basically, Joe Walsh doesn't care. If you even said, hey, Trump's hair looks a little better today than normal, Joe Walsh is going to be pissed at you. Joe Walsh is a former Republican who's doing nothing but bitching on Twitter about how much he hates Trump and that he basically is going to vote for anyone but Trump or anyone who ever said a good word about Trump. And right now, Chris Christie's kind of doing the same thing, just bitching about Trump over and over. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people who like him. And so, I think it's interesting because if you think about Ron DeSantis, right? Ron doesn't spend a whole lot of time bitching about Trump. Now his staff does. His staff is going back and forth with these heavy hitter Trump people, and they're just going back, man, bitch, moan. But basically, Chris Christie's entire campaign is I'm anti-Trump, as opposed to I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or here's how I'm going to beat the Democrats, or here's how I'm going to do that. No, he gets booked on CNN and MSNBC and all these places and NBC, whatever, and they CNN town hall and that, and this is Trump, and Trump's an asshole and blah, and you see his little campaign, little town hall things, and it's all about how much Trump's an asshole and whatever. I don't think that's gonna work, Chris. Sorry, just don't. Krispy Kreme Christie. Yeah. So anyway, funny that I quote there could go for Christie and every other politician. Yeah, true. Hello, Unacceptable Views. Good morning, sir. All right, that, and let's see. Peter and Paul are trending. Apparently today is the the ahead of the Solemnity of Saints Peter and Paul on Thursday. Pope Francis urges Catholics to look to the example of the two apostles for efforts to follow Christ. So if you are a Catholic and or interested in a Saints Day, apparently it's a Saints Day, the Solemnity of Saints Peter and Saint Paul, and a lot of people, it's trending on Twitter. It's popular enough to be trending on Twitter right now. So very interesting. Moving on. Let's see. Code Red is trending now. This is interesting. So we've got the green alerts, the world alerts, the people who are very concerned about our atmosphere and our weather and fire smoke and stuff like that. So a lot of people are talking about Code Red. Now this is here someone named Sophie Gabrielle, who says all of the models on sea level rise are way off. The cryosphere is in an uncontrolled melt. Models didn't account for processes they didn't know existed or think of. Hansen's next report is on sea level rise. Climate emergency. Sea level rise, just one aspect, many disasters. So this guy says we are locking in very high levels of sea level rise, maybe 7 to 8 meters. We are changing weather and rainfall patterns as well as insect pollination, insect pollination of our crops. All of this plays out one disaster after another. We're talking about society collapse here. So the sky is falling. Okay, just make sure you know that the sky is falling. Hello, now what? Good morning, my friend Wendy. And the sky is falling. And look, I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Climate change. Or excuse me, not climate change. I'm going to use the more concerning phrase, global warming. Global warming. Ever since the Ice Age. The people who get the play right now are the scientists who are the alarmists. And I don't know exactly what they believe we will do about it that will make a difference. Right now, every model they show us says even if we stop using carbon right now, right? It's not going to change the trajectory, right? We cannot change the trajectory. It's too late. What's her name? Thunberg? Greta? You know, when she said that we have 5 years to stop this thing, right? Now, I've heard other scientists talk about this who are also saying, this is not new in our planet. Clearly, we have adapted, and we certainly will. It's certainly the politicians buying oceanside estates don't seem to be too worried about it. But also the fact that all this carbon is turning the world greener. So No, I'm sure you'd be worried about insects pollinating crops when but anyway, this is the topic. Also part of the code red though is, and this is the same gal. If humanity could see the scope of death taking place under the waters, they would be terrified. Rising heat and lack of oxygen creating an event reminiscent of the great Permian mass extinction 250 million years ago, where 95% of marine life died. Climate emergency. Unheard of marine heat wave off the UK and Irish coast poses a serious threat. Sustained high temperatures over the summer could trigger mass mortality of fish and oysters, say scientists. Now, it's interesting. They still say could. As long as we are not dramatically cutting emissions, these heat waves will continue to destroy our ecosystems, but this is happening below the surface of the ocean. It will not go unnoticed. Well, okay, so now, wait a minute. If it's going on under the oceans, would that be the carbon in the atmosphere causing that? Or would that be something else? I don't know. She's on a that's her Twitter name, but she's on a roll today. They probably call him a doomer, an alarmist. Should have listened to Gil Hansen and the many other scientists who knew and were discounted by power over decades. Now we arrest them and put them in jail for trying to warn the world. Really? What scientists are being arrested for this? Anyone who talks about this now, any scientist, is not arrested. They're put right front and center. The ones who don't get platformed, the ones who have a different opinion. What are you talking about? In 1953, the Canadian physicist Gilbert Plass talked to a scientific meeting about the dangers of carbon dioxide pollution. The large increase in industrial activity during the present century is discharging so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere that the average temperature is rising at the rate of 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit per century. He announced in a sensational statement that became a headline, news around the world. Although climate scientists had realized that world temperatures were rising, they put forward other explanations for the warming, such as sunspots or wobbles in the Earth's orbit or around the sun. Okay, so are they saying? So she's saying that sunspots don't have anything in this. Anyway, she's just going on. But the other thing too that's happening is code red in Pittsburgh. You can't even see the skyline. If you live kind of in the Midwest to the east area, a lot of the Canadian wildfires are causing smoke. It's funny because I go out to work during the day, and there's definitely smoke. Hello, Jaeger Pony. What's up? My favorite Canadians in the house over on Rumble, and Septif Wolf on YouTube. Nice to see you guys. Yeah, there's a lot of air quality alerts going on. Which brings me to, where is it? Hang on. Oh, you are going to love this. Please tell me I have this one bookmarked. Nope, that ain't it. So as we talk about, please tell me I had it opened. Oh no. Hang on. Oh, here we go. So now you'll love this. This is perfect because it fits everything that happens in the world. If there's something happening in the world that could have an adverse effect on peoples, I guarantee you, black people most affected. Canadian wildfires. This is a great headline. Smoke from Canada wildfires is increasing health risks in black and poorer U.S. communities. I love how they continually try to use black people to push their agenda. Wait a minute. Isn't air everywhere? Is it air everywhere? No, it only increases health risks in black and poorer U.S. communities. And let's read this. Detroit. Smoky air from Canada wildfires shrouded broad swaths in the U.S. from Minnesota to New York and Kentucky on Wednesday, prompting warnings to stay inside and exacerbating health risks for people already suffering from industrial pollution. So, this is great. So they're saying because the industrial pollution affects Black and BIPOC, people of color, indigenous motherfuckers the most, this wildfires are going to impact those people double time. That's what they're saying. You're doubly affected because you are Black, BIPOC, indigenous, people of color, and brown and everything else except for white people. Okay. The impacts are particularly hard on poorer minority communities that are more likely to live near polluting plants and have higher rates of asthma. Detroit, a mostly Black city with a poverty rate of about 30%, had some of the worst air quality in the U.S. on Wednesday, prompting the Environmental Protection Agency to warn that all the Black people should stay indoors. Okay, they didn't say that. They said everyone should. But they might as well have said that. The more breaths you're taking, you're inhaling literally a fire, camp smoke into your lungs. Well, guess what? Did you realize that the air outside of your house also gets inside your house? Now, maybe it filters through windows if they're closed, but you know what? If you're the poor Black, indigenous people of color, and brown and Black peoples and whatever's, you probably don't have air conditioning, so your windows are open. You're still smelling the same air. But the more breaths you take, every breath you take, every move you make. Anyway, you're inhaling literally a fire, camp smoke into your lungs, said Darren Riley, who was diagnosed with asthma in 2018, a few years after arriving in Detroit. Now, it's interesting because, we were talking about the Amish earlier. Did you know that Amish people have less cases of asthma? It's almost non-existent in Amish communities. Autism is almost non-existent in Amish communities. Various skin diseases are non-existent in Amish community. There's a whole lot of things that don't happen in the Amish community from a health standpoint that make you go, But anyway, you go back and I'm telling you, when you get the links today, at the end of the show, I put all the links in one little link. You click the link and everything's on one page. Click the link about the Amish. Okay, that's trending today. Read it. It's interesting. Just can't talk about it here. But it's interesting. You'll be like, oh, damn, is that true or not? And I'm not saying it is conclusive, but you need to listen to it anyway, because I'm fascinated by it. I've told you enough. Amish, go read about the Amish. Anyway, the EPA's new airnow.gov site showed cities including Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, and Cleveland, Ohio, had very unhealthy air as of Wednesday afternoon. A wider circle of unhealthy air spread into Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and Louisville, Kentucky. Earlier this month, smoke from the wildfires blanketed U.S. East Coast for days. Another round of drifting smoke from the wildfires was moving through western Pennsylvania and central New York, headed toward the mid-Atlantic. And National Weather Service meteorologist Byron Jackson, in Canada, smoke will migrate across Quebec and Ontario over the next few days. Environment and Climate Change Canada meteorologist, Stephen Fitter said. Now, wait a minute. Did you hear that title? Environment and Climate Change Canada meteorologist. Oh, that's an organization. Great. In the U.S., the smoke is exacerbating air quality issues in poor and Black communities that are already more likely to live near polluting plants and in rental housing with mold and other triggers. Wait a minute. What? You know what? That's just insulting. You know, most they always got to go for the black people. They always use black people for their agenda. Look, 80% of black people are middle class or higher. Do you know that? You never know it. You would think that all of us black people living in the hood or living next to a chemical factory or in some slum in Detroit. No, we do not all live that way. Stop using black people for your agenda. Detroit's southwest side is home to a number of sprawling refineries and manufacturing plants. It's one of the poorest parts of the city. Okay, that Detroit's not all of Michigan where this smoke is going. It goes everywhere. But anyway, I kind of get their point, but it's just stupid. Being close to those refineries, that's an environmental factor that's difficult to control. No, it's not. Move. And it's not always that easy. I'm just being a smartass. Said Dr. Ruma Srivastava. I can't pronounce the name. A pediatric pulmonologist and blah. Gosh, what are they doing to me? I can't even read the pediatric pulmonologist at Children's Hospital of Michigan in Detroit. It does increase the risk for asthma flare-ups. For them, it's even more important to follow the air quality safety recommendations. Again, follow the recommendations. Don't go outside because the air from outside, it will not get into your home at all. It will be perfectly filtered if you're inside. Even if your windows are open, you'll be fine, right? You'll be fine. Anyway, so again, as usual, Black and BIPOC, people of color, indigenous, elemental P people are most affected. As usual, thank you, Canadian TV News Service. Did I say nude? I meant news service. We do not have a nude service. All right. Speaking of environmental issues, apparently one of America's great traditional magazines seems to be going under, unfortunately. National Geographic, one of the great magazines of all time, has laid off its last remaining staff writers. Now, I don't think that has anything to do with the writer's strike. The writer's strike's on the production, TV, and film areas. So I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think that just it's anyway, the magazine, which remains among the most read in the U.S., has struggled in the digital era to command the kind of resources that fueled the deep reporting it became known for. One of the endangered species whose impending extinction it has chronicled, National Geographic magazine has been on a relentlessly downward path, struggling for vibrancy in an increasingly unforgiving ecosystem. On Wednesday, the Washington-based magazine that has surveyed science and the natural world for 135 years reached another difficult passage when it laid off all of its last remaining staff writers. The cutback, the latest in a series under owner Walt Disney Company, involves some 19 editorial staffers in all, who were notified in April that these terminations were coming. Article assignments will henceforth be contracted out to freelancers or pieced together by editors. The cuts also eliminated the magazine's small audio department. The layoffs were the second over the past 9 months and the fourth since a series of ownership changes began in 2015. In September, Disney removed 6 top editors in an extraordinary reorganization of the magazine's editorial operations. Departing staffers said Wednesday the magazine has curtailed photo contracts that enabled photographers to spend months in the field producing the publication's iconic images. Well, this is a little bit predictable in the age of the internet, in the age of so many options for seeing nature either in photographs or in video. Okay? Because you got things like the Discovery Channel, you got the Learning Channel, you got all these, different channels. PBS does a lot of stuff. And So magazines in general have been on the decline. And and plus even here's the thing. You ever heard of the National Geographic Channel? Is this a shift in the reality of the times, if anything? So the fact that they're going to do most of their the magazine work through non-staff writers. So they had 19 staff writers left that they're finally getting rid of. But they still have editors. They still have people who produce freelance work for them. They have photographers out there. It's just a reality. I spent a lot of time on YouTube Shorts. I spent a lot of time on looking at Instagram Reels, and a lot of especially the natural scenery that you see that you're like, oh, you used to go to National Geographic to see these beautiful photos of different places and nature and things like that. Well, everybody and their brother has an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever, a smartphone where they can take beautiful pictures. Some of the pictures that even I've taken when I've gone out to places like Split Rock Lighthouse or our waterfall tour, I take these pictures and I'm like, oh, that really looks good on my camera. And so there's people traveling the world taking these pictures all the time. So, part of it is their mission of getting people to see the beauty of the world. Well, it's kind of mission accomplished, because people are going out and seeing the beauty of the world and sharing it on all these different ways, in social media and various, like I said, all the cable channels that do this stuff. National Geographic used to be pretty much the only place that did that. And so I would say, though they're getting rid of these staff writers, I would say, hey, National Geographic, mission accomplished. You've done well, and thank you for what you've done. And hopefully you'll find ways to share unique things in the world again. Hey, yes, and for some people, it was their first sight of titties. Okay, anyway. All right, moving on. Let's get into the main topic today. I'll skip this one for now, and we'll come back to that one later, because we have a hit piece in the Washington Post by Michael Shearer on Ron DeSantis. Now, it doesn't matter what candidate you are rooting for right now. If your candidate is not a Democrat, you should expect that every candidate who's not a Democrat is going to be hit by the media in a negative way, because most of the media skews Democrat. I don't even say left. They just skew Democrat. They think that it's good, Democrat good, Republican bad, and that's how the media works. So in the Washington Post, there is this article by Michael Shearer, but I want to give you a preliminary on how this has come about, because Jeremy Redford, who is, I think he's press secretary for Ron DeSantis, put out a little tweet thread about this article that was going to come out. And I want to go through the tweet thread before I go to the article to see if he was, well, it's obviously very predictive of what the Washington Post does, because they're dirty MFers. So we got this right here. Redford writes, let's talk about how corporate media works. 1, come up with a false premise to smear, and I'll just put blank Republican, even though he says Ron DeSantis. Hello, Chauncey Stewart. How you doing? Number 2, send questions based on that false premise. And number 3, publish, even after there is no evidence. Today is Michael Shearer over at today's is Michael Shearer at the Washington Post. And this is Michael Shearer, nice looking young man. But nonetheless, let's see what he comes up with. So, starting out with what seems to be like an interesting story to the lay person. A donor of the governor that is part of a development district that will benefit from an interchange off I-95. That's a freeway going north and south through Florida. Scandalous, right? Oh, wait. Not so fast. So let's see the evidence he puts up here. Here it is. Now this is this is great. Here's the questions. You know how, remember when, what was it? Taylor Lorenz, she was doing some story on somebody and she already had the story written and the story was going to post at 6:00 in the evening on a Sunday, right? And so she sent someone about 2 hours before she was going to post it. Hey, do you want to comment on this story I'm writing about you being a complete shitbag and asshole, asswipe, monkey diddler, pedophile asshole? And do you want to comment on the story that I'm going to publish that says you were all those things? And the person's like, fuck you, Taylor. You're an asshole. Hello, Nomad. Nomad's in the house. What's up? And there's, she's, give you a couple hours because it's going to print. It's going to go out at 6:00 and it's 4:31. So you need to get a hold of me and hopefully you've checked your email. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Hopefully you checked your old AOL mail account from 1997 because that's where I sent it to get you to, so I give you a chance to comment on this story about you being a shitbag, asshole, world beating, wife beating, climate change polluting asswipe. Okay. So here's an example of one of those letters from Michael Shearer to Jeremy Redfern. About a story that came out today, apparently got this yesterday or something like that. Hello, Jeremy. After the golf simulator story last week, we plan to report a story about the FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, decision last year to use federal American Rescue Plan dollars to pay for the Pioneer Trail interchange on I-95 in Port Orange. This has long been a priority of Maury Hosseini, something like that, the golf simulator donor to Ron DeSantis, obviously, since the interchange will allow direct access to his Woodhaven development, a project expected to encompass 1,300 dwelling units and 650,000 square feet of commercial space. Last year, the Florida DOT notified local officials that about $92 million in federal COVID relief would be used for the previously unfunded project, moving up construction by at least a decade. An additional $34 million in state funds has been set aside. At a meeting in January, and Florida DOT officials said that the project had been selected because it was ready for construction, after instructions in 2021 from the governor and the legislature to find transportation projects that could be built with the federal funds. So he's setting this up, right? Saying that it's gonna benefit one of your donors, and it seems like maybe you did this for little nefarious purposes. So here we go. The questions for the governor's office are as follows. 1, did the office of the governor or DeSantis play any role in the decision by the Florida Department of Transportation to fund this particular project? Has DeSantis discussed the project with Hosseini? Number 2, DeSantis previously said in March of 2021 that the ARPA legislation then in development was Washington at its worst, because funds were being used like a Christmas tree for pet projects that had nothing to do with COVID. Is there an argument that the government would make that this interchange is COVID related? Or is your argument that once the money was appropriated to Florida, there was no longer a governing responsibility to target the money for pandemic related relief? Number 3, the Woodhaven development is governed by the Pioneer Community Development District, a special governing body controlled by Hosseini's executive, much like Reedy Creek Improvement District was previously controlled by the Disney Corporation. DeSantis has previously said that allowing a corporation to control its own government is bad policy. Does this concern apply to special improvement districts beyond Reedy Creek? Or is there a reason PCDD presents different issues? Our aim is to publish a story Wednesday morning. Now, he got this on Tuesday. Please get back to me by 9 a.m. Wednesday. Wait a minute. You're publishing it Wednesday morning and you're going to take comments up until 9 a.m. Wednesday? You're publishing it Wednesday morning, and are you going to change it? You say you're going to publish a story Wednesday morning, but you give him up till 9 o'clock Wednesday to respond. What if he responds at 8:59? Are you going to edit the story before you publish it Wednesday morning? I doubt it. Hello, Data Wasteland. How you doing? The message on Discord. I did find them, and I'll address those soon. Anyway, if you need more time, let us know, and we will try to accommodate. Oh, wait a minute. This was on Tuesday. Yo, you're gonna. Oh, so you're not gonna publish your story Wednesday morning if I talk to you now? Oh, just dirty. Anyway, so he says, they continue. So I'm no expert in transportation, but the Disney thing is nothing new. While my Florida DOT is doing their work on the transportation question, I respond with information about Disney and improvement districts. They're nothing alike. Surprisingly, Michael drops the subject. Here's what he shows. So, as Governor said, allowing a corporation to control its own government is bad policy. The Reedy Creek Improvement District was an extraordinary benefit given to one corporation. It existed outside many Florida laws with little or no oversight. The other district you mentioned falls under a completely different statute, Chapter 190 of the state legislature. In a community development district, elections of boards of supervisors generally shift from landowners to the electors as the development attracts residents or as time passes. So it's not the same as the Disney district, in other words. Other district you mentioned falls, let's see, the community development district. Elections to the board of supervisors generally shift from landowners to electors as the development attracts residents or as time passes. Since the original charter, RCID has had no provision to shift elections away from landowners. As the largest landowner, Walt Disney Company maintained control of board appointments, thus creating the corporate kingdom that existed until DeSantis signed the bill which reorganized the RCID into the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. So, and then he continues on with some other stuff, basically explaining the difference between these two things. So then he says, Michael Shearer basically said, I'm just going to drop that subject. But then the story goes on. The Florida Department of Transportation gives more background on the project, and a lot of background. Basically, the project has been under development for years before DeSantis took office, and it was ready to move forward, and the legislature decided to expedite it along with other, along with other projects along I-95. These things don't happen overnight. You don't just say, oh, Ron DeSantis got somebody, I'm going to make them do this now. But Michael doesn't feel like he's answered the question. So his premise is false, and there's nothing to answer. How this project was identified and funded was answered by the Florida Department of Transportation. This project was ready to go 10 years before it's happened. And it was set up long before Ron DeSantis was governor. Okay, the Florida Department of Transportation decided how they're going to use funds. So anyway, so he highlighted some things in the original Florida Department of Education response, but apparently Michael didn't get it. So he sends me, Redford is talking about Shearer. So he sends me how the story reads, and it contains the original premise, even though that has nothing to do with the process outlined by the Florida Department of Transportation. Then he gives me the overall premise, which I already knew to be the case, that he has no evidence for other than what is in his own mind. Overall, this story is a nothing burger. It exists in the mind of Michael Shearer because he believes the interchange that's been under development for a decade plus is some sort of conspiracy. So again, then he gives the little clown face to Michael Shearer. So what happens? He writes the story in the way of his original premise DeSantis agency sent $92 million in COVID relief funds to donor-backed project. Because Ron DeSantis has the audacity to run for president. Excuse me, not even that. To run for the Republican presidential nomination. Ron DeSantis is number 2 in the race right now. Should have something crazy happen to Trump if he doesn't make it through the primary season or whatever. So they got to smear number 2. And they will smear every Republican every chance they get. Now, I know that I'm out of time, but I got to move on to one other thing before I go. And there's several other articles that I'm not getting to, so you can check out the links and see what we missed. But I do want to get to this one thing. Oh, by the way, also, there's a memo that must have went out because it's hit Ron DeSantis Day, because there's also this article. Ron DeSantis says he will eliminate 4 federal agencies if elected president. Oh, yeah, but it's about damn time. Yes. The governor said he would seek to abolish departments of education, commerce, and energy, as well as the IRS. I don't know if he can get rid of the IRS. I'm sure if he could get that, let me tell you, if he could get flat tax, no deductions, basically make it so you can do your taxes on a postcard. Obviously, it'd be a lower tax rate if you had no deductions for total overall. But if you could do that, you could eliminate 80-90% of the IRS. But anyway, let's go. Let's see. Ron DeSantis said Wednesday if he's elected president, he would seek to close 4 federal agencies as a part of the effort to reduce the size of government. We would do education, we would do commerce, we would do energy, and we would do IRS. DeSantis said in an interview with Fox News' Martha McCallum when he was asked whether he favored closing any agencies. Yeah! I got to tell you, Department of Education, it's like, why do we have that double factor? Doesn't every state have a Department of Education? I mean, don't you? I would just let, I don't even, the Department of Education, the other one too, what was the other one? Energy and commerce. You could combine those two into a single agency and maybe get rid of all the whatever. Anyway, this is just now this is one of those ones where the idea that you would dare reduce the size of government, I mean, come on. What about the children? But anyway, that's not really what I wanted to get into though, because it's Media Weirdness Day, and this one is going to shock you. I swear to you, this will shock you. So yesterday we talked about we kind of talked about the whistleblowers, right? The mainstream media is starting to take notice of the Biden family possible crime issues and Hunter Biden and all that. They're starting to pay attention to that, right? And so yesterday, CBS News did a big story on the second whistleblower. And then today, ABC News puts out this tweet. Twice in 24 hours, President Biden misspoke when discussing the Russian invasion of Ukraine, referring to it instead of as the war in Iraq. Uh-oh. So basically, ABC News has decided to highlight a Biden gaffe? What? But what? They are actually allowing you to notice it? And they did a whole news article on it right here. They did this whole news article. Biden says Putin is losing war in Iraq, not Ukraine, in latest gaffe. He's had gaffes every day since he became president. You're finally reporting on one? So let's see. They have the link here. They have the video of him saying it. He said it a couple times. Twice in 24 hours, President Biden misspoke when discussing the Russian invasion of Ukraine, referring to it instead as the war in Iraq. The first apparent gaffe occurred Tuesday when Biden was courting Democratic donors at a fundraiser in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Think about it. If anybody told you, and my staff wasn't so sure either, that we'd be able to bring all of Europe together in the onslaught on Iraq and get NATO to be completely united, I think that they would have told you it's not likely. The one thing Putin counted on was me being able to split NATO. What? Iraq? No, the Russians are not in Iraq. And then the second mistake. Hello, nobody, not me. Then the second mistake happened Wednesday as Biden departed Washington for Chicago, where he delivered a major speech on his economic philosophy, also known as Bidenomics. On the South Lawn, Biden was asked about whether Russia's Vladimir Putin is weakened after a short-lived mutiny by Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin. The rebellion in which Prigozhin armed forces marched towards Moscow represented the most significant risk to Putin's authority in his decades of power. It's hard to tell, but Putin's clearly losing the war in Iraq, losing a war at home, and he has a bit of a pariah around the world. He's a bit of a pariah. But Iraq? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Yes, I saw the Sold Secrets for Money quote, too, that he said he was joking. We talked about that yesterday. So anyway, ABC's News reporting on this. Unreal, right? Well, I had a theory about this a long time ago about Biden not really going to be running for president. But I found a thread on Twitter that explains the strategy that I have thought of, and I just never wrote it down. And so this guy beat me to it. This guy said, and I quote, listen to this. Now tell me if you think this sounds pretty much what's going on in the world, okay? There's a 2024 strategy to have Gavin Newsom, replace Biden. Step one, have Newsom go around defending Biden, selling Biden's record, showing loyalty. Step two, have him constantly attack DeSantis. Dems are convinced Trump would be forced to drop out. Step three, Biden doesn't step down. If Biden doesn't step down, have the mainstream media attack him. It's already happening. ABC, CBS, and NBC all went after him starting this week. Did anybody else notice that? I sure did. Step four, once Jill notices these endless attacks, have a private meeting with Biden sharing strategy to save face if he steps down. Okay, we're not there yet, but doesn't that sound like a right plan? And so that strategy would be multiple documentaries showing him as modern day FBR, massive Simon & Schuster book deal, money, defend his legacy, and be pardoned by Newsom if shit hits the fan. Okay, that would be his strategy to save face. Step five, choose one of few options to step down. Now, you could just walk down some steps and maybe not make it all the way down to all of them. That's one way. Let's see, what was the other? Here's the choices. He could say step down due to his health. He could say, well, Jill and I prayed about it, and we decided it's time for us to go spend time with the grandkids. Kind of like a lot of the CEOs do when they're getting pushed out. Or he could say, we fixed everything Trump broke, and now it's time for someone else to do it. So it's time for someone else to finish the job. Finish the job. Number four, edify Newsom as being loyal to Biden, unlike DeSantis not being loyal to Trump. Oh, man. And then we go to step six. Because, if Biden doesn't run or something happens to Biden, who's waiting in the wings? That would be Kamala. Well, here's step six. In order to prevent Kamala from backstabbing, let her become the first female president for a split second when Biden steps down. Who said that a long time ago? Step down before the end. So then you have your first black woman president. Hillary would lose her fucking mind, though, wouldn't it? And step 7, defied DeSantis and Trump camp to make sure MAGA doesn't vote for DeSantis. You got a lot of people doing little picky, pricky things between the Trump and DeSantis people to make them hate each other so the Trump people don't vote for DeSantis. Wow. And step 8, Gavin Newsom becomes 47. And last but not least, it's very likely that none of the above... Oh, wait. And last but not least, it's very likely that none of the above will happen, which is why it's called a prediction. Okay, well, that sounds like the most amazing, just parallel universe strategy that I was been thinking of all along. I just didn't write it down. I wish I would have wrote it down first, but I'm fully on board because that is what's happening. You see it. Why is Gavin Newsom traveling the country, bashing DeSantis, talking good about the economy, talking good about Biden? Because this is it. So this will definitely be in the links today, well, as well as several other stories. Some of the other stories I missed, apparently aspartame or aspartame, whatever they call that sweetener in Diet Coke. Now they've figured out it's a possible carcinogen. WHO Cancer Regency Agency says that's why I only drink Mexican Coke. If the Coke you buy is not from Mexico, it has corn syrup. If you buy this Diet Coke, aspartame, I drink Mexican Coke with real sugar. Yes, because they use real sugar in Mexican Coke. But be careful, because you don't want to use the Mexican Coke in the powdered form, because that's filled with ketamine or phenamine. What is it called? Fentanyl. So don't use that. I'm talking about Coca-Cola with sugar in it. The other white stuff, stay out of there. Also, schoolgirls sexually assaulted in gender-neutral toilets in where is this? Oh, well, I don't have the article anyway because it's paywalled, so I'm just going to get rid of that. In the New York Post, Madonna is in the hospital. Apparently has been intubated after being found unresponsive in New York City. I think one of her lips leaked or something, or her cheek or something. No, she's a big vax woman, but this is supposedly not vax related. Madonna's been rushed to New York City Hospital after being found unresponsive. Page 6 has exclusively revealed the pop icon discovered in a residence Saturday before being admitted to the ICU, where she was intubated overnight. Don't know what's going on with that. There's probably some news today. You know what? Look, I'm not a Madonna fan, and yet I pray for her health. She's far too young to be joining Michael and Prince, although they're all from the same era. And I hope she recovers. I haven't heard anything since. The Daily Mail, LA's TikTok doctor for trans kid is seen as young as 7 admits puberty blockers and hormones can cause bone disease and infertility at a private student center. So, oh my gosh, one of the TikTok trans doctors is admitting that maybe the puberty blockers and stuff is not good for growing and developing bodies. Oh gosh, the world is going to end. Dr. Erin Baroni styles herself as TikTok's queer MD and treats trans children. In a private online medical seminar, she acknowledged that there are drawbacks. Opinion is divided over whether trans kids do better with drugs or counseling. So anyway, great. Maybe that wall is breaking. They're figuring out this is not a good thing to do don't experiment on kids. All right. And then finally, the last one on here, we'll be hearing about this a lot. In the New York Post, overseas payments to the Biden family could exceed $40 million, according to Comer. This was organized crime. So the other day, one of the whistleblowers, the IRS whistleblower, was saying that of what they could find, it looks like about $8 million over the last 9 years from overseas entities to the Biden family, and not just Hunter Biden, to the Biden family. So Now they're saying it could be as much as $40 million. So Biden joked the other day, they asked about it. He's like, well, if this happened, where's the money? That's a good question, Joe. Where is the money? Hello, clandestine. How you doing? Biden cannot walk without falling down and has severe Alzheimer's, but still beat Donald Trump by 8 million votes. Well, in theory, and I don't care how many votes they won by. I have a hard time with the what is it? What didn't Hillary Clinton beat 3 million votes? We don't vote. It's not by how many votes. It's how many the electoral college votes you get. But still, but at least you admit he has Alzheimer's. That's good. So, and I'm not a Trump guy anyway, so I don't really care. I will vote for Trump if he's the nominee. I vote for Sam I Am if it's Sam I Am versus Joe Biden. So anyway, let's call this a day because I have taken too much of my time and more time than I normally do. I will leave a link to the my Instagram. I don't know why. Oh, because that's another Mental Health Month message. And that's it for today, folks. Hey, do me a favor, though, before you click any buttons. Okay? Hit the like button. You know you like me. There's 27 people on YouTube, 14 likes. I don't know how many people are on Rumble, but probably not as many of the little thumbs up. Hit over there. Hit that little thumbs up thingy. All right? And share the stream before, during, and after. But even better, share some of the YouTube short videos I put out there. I would really appreciate that. And if you want to sponsor the show, you can do that 24 hours a day at pdognight.live, which is the Streamlabs link. You can do it at YouTube. Venmo, Cash App in the description, Super Chats, and Rumble Rants during the show. So thanks, everybody. I got to call it a day. Hey, anyone got any good plans for the weekend? I'm going to be sitting on a lake on a pontoon boat, maybe doing some fishing because we're going to the grandma's cabin again. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. Guys, gotta go. See ya. My name's Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye. Bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight Channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.